Greetings again, everyone. So in this lesson, we'll be talking about inequalities. And in talking about inequalities, there are two questions that are on the board. Both of them are from the CSEC past paper. The first question is from the year 2018, May 2018 CSEC math past paper. And the second one is of 2023 past paper maths question. So let us really dive into this lesson and let us see what you understand from this. Okay, in solving these equations, we're going to start off with part one. So part one on the May 2018 past paper actually came in actually three questions. But I just put one question on the board because the truth be told is that all three questions are the same one question. So if you were to see this, if CSEC were to throw this part alone on the paper, what would we do? So I want you to understand that when we're actually solving inequations, we can actually break it down into parts when we have a situation such as where we have two inequalities. So we have one here and we have one here. And especially that x is in the middle, the variable is in the middle. So we can actually break this into two parts. So we're going to start off with part one. And in part one says we have 2x. So we actually have 2x, no, not 2x, just 2. We have 2 is less than or equal to 3x minus 1. And in the next part now, we're going to take it and we are literally going to break it here again. I'm going to have it as that. So that is one part. And the second part, we're just going to take that 3x minus 1 is less than 11. So that's how we start off by working out our problem. Now again, when it comes down to doing inequalities, is that we can treat it the same way how we treat equations, right? So let's go again. So in the event that we had, for example, an equal sign right there, we would actually do something as simple as having 2 equals 3x minus 1. That's what we would have, right? So that's literally what we would have had right there. We would have 2 equals 3x minus 1. And the idea is that we're solving for x. And what we would do is that we would bring the 1 over, removing it from here, and we would have 1 plus 2, right, equals 3x. So I'm just putting these just small on the board. I'm going to erase it, right? I'm just trying to give you an example. So 1 plus 2 is actually 3. And where we have this 3x, we're going to remove this 3x right here. We need to remove this 3 to solve for x, and we'll divide both sides by 3. So it's the same thing. We would have 1 equals to x. When it comes on to solving in equations, we actually do the same thing. So let's actually have it written out. So we would actually have 2 is less than or equal to 3x minus 1, right? And then in solving now, we would say that we would actually get rid of this negative 1, put it over here. So we need to add 1 on both sides. So the 1's are being cancelled out. Now we have 1 plus 2 is 3. We would have 3 is less than or equal to 3x. Then now we want to solve x. Just always remember that the aim is always to solve the variable. So in solving for the variable, we need to get rid of this 3, so we need to divide both sides by 3 since we're multiplying 3. The opposite of multiplication is division, and if we divide it, we get rid of it. So if we divide it here, we also have to divide it there. So the 3's are going to cancel out, and I'm left with 1 is less than or equal to x. So that's what I have for my first answer. Now, looking at my second answer, I need to go ahead now and have, so I'm going to take this 3x now minus 1, and we are now going to write that down. So we're going to have 3x minus 1 is less than 11. So that's what we're going to have right there. So again, the idea is always to solve for x. So we need to get rid of this negative 1, so we add on both sides. So we have 3x is less than 11 plus 1 is actually 12. So these are going to be cancelled out. So now we have 3x. If we want to solve for x, is that we can divide both sides by 3 because we're solving for x. So because we're multiplying 3 and x, we need to get rid of this 3, and we get rid of it by doing the opposite of multiplication, which is to divide. Right? So now we have x is less than 3 into 12 is 4. So we have x is less than 4. So we have these now to really focus on right here. So these would actually be my two values. So if you look at your CSEC past paper question, you'll actually see that they actually give you this to solve and this to solve as separate questions, right? So the idea now is that the third part of the question states that we need to work out this one on the number line. So now that we have our answers, how do we put this entire thing without the squaring and everything around it? So the third part of the question asks to represent this information on the number line. So how do we do that? The fact that we have this information, we can actually use it. So if I were to draw my number line, I'm drawing my number line, I'm gonna have 4 on my number line, and I'm also gonna have 1 on my number line. My 0 can be here. I can have like maybe -1, -2, all the way. We just can have the infinity right there. So just having some numbers between. Now that we really have to write out all the numbers. I'm just putting it there. So when we look, we see that x is greater than or equal to 1. So the first thing that we do is that we put our dot right there at the 1. And remember, because there's an equal sign for this inequality sign, we use a closed circle, right? So here as well, you look that this inequality sign, we use an open circle. So we use an open circle. So this one is saying that x is greater than or equal to 1. So the x would be going that direction. And this one now is saying that x is actually less than 4. So x is going in that direction. So one is saying that x is either equal to 1 or greater than 1. The other one is saying that x is less than 4. So the idea is that x could be either 1, 2, or 3. So these are all my possible values for 3. So x is greater than or equal to 1, but it is less than 4. So that's how you would actually say it. So you would have, these are my possible values of x. So x could actually be any one of these numbers, 1, 2, or 3. And so that is how you solve May 2018 past paper question. Let us look at this one. So we know we're going to solve past paper 2023 question. So we know we're going to solve past paper 2023 question, right? It's a very easy one, very simple. It's just that there's just something that I need to share with you in this. There's a little twist to it. So we actually have 12 minus 4m. And we see that is less than or equal to 5 minus 8m. So looking at this that we have right here is that if 12 minus 4m is less than or equal to 5 minus 8m, if this was an equal sign, normally we would actually group our terms. So we can still do that. So we can go ahead and still do that. Now I'm going to keep my 4m here. So this 12 right here, I'm going to switch it with this negative 8m right here, right? So if this is going to come over, this is going to come over as a positive. This is going to come over as a negative. So this 8m is going to become positive 8m, right? And I'm saying minus 4m, right, is less than or equal to this. Now I'm going to keep back, so my 5 would be right there. This is now going to become a negative, as I said before, negative 12, right? So in doing this, I actually cover the twist, but I'm also going to reveal where the twist is. So, but in this, we're actually on the safe side. So 8m minus 4m is going to give me 4m. And we're saying that 4m is less than or equal to 5 minus 12, which is going to give me negative 7. Therefore, therefore, if we want to solve for m, we divide both sides by 4 to solve for m. So the 4's are cancelled, and now we have m is less than or equal to negative 7 over 4. All right, so look at that. Now, this is correct, but what if you wanted to bring over the negative 4m instead? And just use another marker. So let us look at this now. 12 minus 4m is less than or equal to 5 minus 8m. Now, if we are taking the other approach of removing this negative 4m and swapping it with this 5 right here, if we were to take this negative 4m and exchange it or bring it over in the place of this 5, we would literally have a positive 4m, and this is going to come over as a negative. So we could go ahead and do that. So we would literally be having 12, we literally could be having 12 minus 5 is less than or equal to negative 8m. This is going to come over as positive 4m, right? Now, if we were to look right here, if we were to work this out, 12 minus 5 is going to give me a 7, right? And we are saying a 7 is less than or equal to 8m negative 8m plus 4m is literally going to give me negative 4m, right? And having this now is going to tell me that my answer would therefore be, so this negative 4m, we're going to get rid of this negative 4 by dividing both sides by the negative 4, right? So we have to divide both sides by the negative 4. So we would therefore have our answer as 7 over, or you can just say negative 7 over 4, and we would have the less than or equal sign. These are going to be cancelled out to f. Now watch closely. If you look here, you will see that you have one scenario where you have negative 7 over 4 here. And in this case, we literally have m is less than or equal to negative 7 over 4. So we're saying right here, saying that m is greater than or equal to negative 7 over 4. And here, but here is saying 4m is less than or equal to negative 7 over 4. Which of these are correct? Well, as I said before, is that this one is the correct one. So what went wrong right here? The idea is that when you're solving inequalities, whenever you're dividing both sides by a negative, so right here where we said that the negative 4, we need to get rid of this negative 4. To solve m, we need to divide both sides by a negative 4. Once you're dividing both sides by a negative, this sign has to now change. So The fact that this sign was less than or equal to 7, negative 7 over 4 is less than or equal to m, it has to change because we divided both sides by a negative. And so we would actually have negative 7 over m over 4 is greater than or equal to m, which is literally the same thing because this is saying that m is less than or equal to negative 7 over 4. And here, if we read it from right to left, we see that m is less than or equal to negative 7 over 4. If you want to do a further check of this information, to check if well, these two are now correct, so we can go ahead and do a little check, right? If we were to plug in the information, just I'm going to use up this space right here. So if m is less than or equal to negative 7 over 4, is that the ranges of values of m could be any number. So negative 7 over 4 could be, well, if you were to rearrange this in mixed fraction, we would actually get, 1 and 3 over 4. So any number that is less than negative 1 and 3 over 4 could work, right? So we could also use negative 3, for example. So we would have negative 7 over 4. We would also have numbers such as like negative 2, negative 3, and the list goes all the way to infinity. It doesn't end. So we could choose any of these numbers. Let us use, like, for example, a negative 2, right? If we were to plug this information here and we chose negative 2, just to prove that our answer, we won't have a math error. If we were to prove it, we would actually, just by using the negative, I said negative 2, right? So 12 minus 4 in bracket negative 2 is less than or equal to 5 minus 8. We say that m is negative 2. If we were to go ahead and multiply it, we would get, so this is going to give negative 4. So 4 times negative 2 is going to give me negative 8. A negative and a negative is going to give me a positive. So literally, I'm going to have positive 8. So, and here now, this is going to be 16, negative 16, negative and negative is going to give me a positive. So we have plus 16 right there. So in working that out, this is 12 plus 8 is going to give me 20. Is less than or equal to 5 plus 16 gives me 21. So if you look carefully, is that we actually have no issue right there. We can see that we're safe, that 20 is not equal to 21, but 20 is less than 21. And you can go ahead and try other numbers. But if you were to have the sign being turned the other way, then you're going to see where this, actually, when you plug in the values of m, it does not work. You get a math error. All right. So again, thank you very much for tuning into this video. I hope you enjoyed it. You can go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And you can also look at my other videos on inequalities and other videos on factorization and so forth. Until again, take care. Thank you for tuning in.